I've been saying for a little while now that we are in the final stretch. Soon we should know a lot more around Wastelanders, and now we have even a more concrete date to go along with that, as Bethesda has announced that they will have a trailer coming out in just a few days. Even separate of that, we have some general Fallout 76 news to go over. Bethesda has shared some additional details around Wastelanders overall, giving us a look at the new faction reputation system that is getting implemented with this DLC. But separately, there have been some other things going on in Fallout 76 that are a bit more concerning around banned players, and specifically certain users trying to get players banned. It's honestly some pretty juicy stuff, and in this video we're going to talk about all of that and even a little bit more. If you guys enjoy the content, you can leave a like for the algorithm or subscribe to stay up to date with Wastelanders. But otherwise, first, let's take a look at some of the new details Bethesda has shared. We've known for a little while now that the Wastelanders PTS has been going on. On Monday last week, around 500 people were invited to the private test server. But even further, there's been some people who have had access since December, some select users, and probably even some before that. But large in part, the more in-depth or extensive testing has been going on for around 2 weeks now, and that is important because I speculated before then that likely we wouldn't have a release date announcement until Bethesda had that sample size, people playtesting it and breaking things, then seeing how much has to be fixed. And I think that's important because when you take it into context with their most recent announcement, they did announce that on Tuesday, February 4th, so just this next Tuesday, there will be a new Wastelanders trailer that is coming out, described simply as the official trailer. And they do take a little bit of a jab at themselves, saying that you probably want more than just some screenshots and words on a page. So I have a feeling this is going to be a very meaty trailer for Wastelanders, pretty similar to some of the past ones we saw for Fallout 76's DLC. And of course, considering the circumstance, I imagine a release date will be announced with this trailer. And I of course will be having an in-depth look at this and whatever else is revealed. Funny enough, Bethesda decides to drop a trailer though on one of the 3 days I'm traveling in the next couple of months, so I'll be doing it from a hotel room, but that's okay. Separate from that, we also got some new details right now. We know that in Wastelanders, we're getting 2 major factions, the Settlers and the Raiders. But to go along with this, we also will have a faction reputation for each of them. Bethesda describes how right off the bat, each of these factions will be somewhat hesitant to actually include you in their affairs. But you can increase your faction reputation by offering them information, taking down their enemies, completing quests, and they even mentioned some daily quests that will earn you faction reputation, probably doing something for that faction that's fairly generic, similar to the daily quests right now. And some of these will have a more significant impact on reputation. Bethesda describes how completing a story quest, for example, will give you a larger amount of reputation. But then there's other things that are more minor, like certain choices while conversing with NPCs. And overall, there's going to be 7 different ranks you can climb from. The negative ones, so hostile or cautious if you have negative reputation with them, or neutral, friendly, ally, and then likely some above those. These are 2 independent values, not a continuum, so you'll have a separate reputation for the Raiders and the Settlers. And Bethesda describes how you could check this at any time just by checking the social menu. And as far as what you get for having a better reputation with a certain faction or one of these 2 factions, it's described at their head base you actually will gain access to additional things. You saw those 2 main bases last week, and depending on your reputation, people will treat you differently. You'll be able to buy faction-specific things at vendors. They also mentioned that just by completing the story overall, you'll actually gain access to certain faction-themed items once you hit certain milestones, which will probably be somewhat polarizing, especially after starting a new character and you just want that thing. And to summarize, it's basically exactly how you would expect a faction reputation system to work in Fallout 76. It more or less does everything you would hope it would, and there's no real big twist on this, or at least it wasn't revealed in this article. And to me, it seems like one of those features that will likely have a grind component to it. We saw this in the past with some of the past DLCs, specifically some of the camp badges. You get more badges to get more points to spend on certain unlocks. I bet with these, you could get to a certain degree of faction alignment just naturally by playing, but if you want that top tier rating, you'll probably have to grind out some daily quests, and that's how you'll get some of the very unique or special items or weapons. And it seems like you could have max reputation with both factions at the same time. Likely some decisions may negatively impact one and positively impact the other, but overall, especially how they regarded daily challenges, I assume if you just grind out dailies consistently, you could have max reputation after a while with each of these. With this, we of course also got many new screenshots, which I've been showing you in the background. I tried to break some of these down. There wasn't a ton to look at. You see one vendor at what looks like to be a raider base of sorts, but that's really it. And overall, this sounds fine. It's not like it gets me particularly excited about Wastelanders. I'm honestly more excited about the announcement of an announcement coming up, the reveal that there actually will be a trailer coming soon, as if you remember, it's been like 8 months or so since we've seen some actual gameplay that wasn't just this short GIF. And it will be really nice to finally know when this is dropping. I'm putting my money on a early March release date, but time will tell. We'll also see if maybe we get some additional invites on Tuesday to the private test server. They mentioned in the past that is something they will likely be doing, and as we approach release, you have to imagine those tests will only get larger and larger. But with that being said, outside of that, let's look at the current state of Fallout 76 and some oddities that have been going on in game. Last week we talked about how some users have taken to mass spreading illegal or unobtainable items in hopes of getting other users banned. Some of these include weapons that have mods that you typically couldn't put on them, or even legendaries that naturally wouldn't spawn. These being items that spawned from the legendary spawn wave that we saw in December. Because they weren't removed. Even though Bethesda easily removed the 4 and 5 star legendaries, the 3 stars, even totally illegitimate ones like this, are still in game. Although that isn't all that's included with this, as separately, something else that has been getting mass duped and spread by these very same users are actually some of those scrap kits that were given out by Bethesda support not too long ago. With Fallout First, you get this scrap box so you could put unlimited junk in it, but there was a glitch on release where it was deleting some users' junk. As compensation, Bethesda basically gave those users these little scrap kits that gave you a myriad of different junk items and were supposed to kind of make you whole. But the only way legitimately to obtain these was for Bethesda support to directly put them into your account. Except now with some of the other hacks that are out there right now, users have been able to actually mass dupe these and spread them around to other accounts. So of course on one hand this is problemsome because it's giving you quite a significant advantage, you're getting a ton of free items in game, but separately Bethesda actually has automated flags set up so you can get banned just for having too many of these. Which is the ultimate goal here. They're duping and spreading these items, not necessarily in hopes that everyone that has them gets banned in reality, but more to show to Bethesda, hey, you can't automatically ban people for having these because there's many legitimate ways to get them. An innocent player that doesn't know better may just pick up this scrap kit or pick up this weapon. To them, it's just cool loot that they found and maybe didn't realize was something special or dangerous to actually be carrying around, and of course, banning those players wouldn't be super appropriate. I understand why those automated things are in place because hypothetically, under normal circumstances where this isn't going on, you shouldn't be able to have more than 4 of these kits, but unfortunately now we're seeing the abuse of that system and why it's flawed. It's a retaliation against a recent ban wave that hit a bunch of people that they felt like didn't deserve it. And with these scrap kits, it actually seems like it is working, as several users have reported getting banned even though they didn't dupe or spawn them in themselves, other people gave them to them or they just found them somewhere, and just for having them on their account in a certain quantity, they got an automated ban by the system. It seems like this is all actually very small scale thus far. I've only seen a handful of bans and it seems like many of them were actually overturned, but if you do see some of these items in game, just be wary. There is definitely the potential that you lose access to your account for at least a few days as a result of having them. Although separate from that, Bethesda just recently released a hotfix for an item dupe method. Duping has kind of made a full-on comeback in Fallout 76. There were several widely known methods to duplicate items, and of course, we've been seeing it on full display as of late with the spread of these illegitimate items. Although the odd thing with this is, I don't know if the hotfix didn't work or fixed one of the more obscure dupes, but it doesn't seem like it really resolved much. The major methods of duping still large in part work, and people are continuing to do them. So definitely a good effort by Bethesda, but it has yet to actually fix the larger problem. Which speaking of, it does seem like that we may see some more hacks make their way into Fallout 76 in the future. As just recently we saw this video get posted online. This from the same person that actually released those previous inventory steal hacks. This not really being malicious, but it basically allows you to loot all of the items in your area of a certain kind using the in-game UI. Thus far, it hasn't been released. Again, this isn't as big of a deal in the sense that it really only benefits you, but not at a cost to other players so much. And with all those scrap kits getting spawned in and spread anyway, it's honestly not that much worse than that. Hopefully with Wastelanders, we'll see some better anti-cheat and just an all-around update wave to Fallout 76, fixing some of these lingering issues. But until then, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this one. Hopefully I'll have a nice big video talking about whatever we learn on Tuesday. And hey, maybe even soon some of us will get invited to the Wastelanders PTS, so there's also that to look forward to. As always again, I thank you all for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.